So we're covering some McLaren drama and more specifically Spygate today, which if you don't know what that is, you'll find out. And I gotta say, today's current McLaren team, I don't think they could win a race even if they cheated.
Welcome back to Break Check. We are in episode 7, I believe now, right? 8? Is it 8?
One of those for sure.
One of those, 7 or 8. How was your weekend one? I know we're doing this catch up round 2. We just caught up off camera, but for everyone listening, what did you do this weekend? What's going on?
I went skydiving. I drove a Ferrari on the highway, and no, my weekend was good. I did not do any of those things. I've just been hanging out. My girlfriend's birthday is on Monday, so we've just been kind of doing different things that she likes to do. How was your weekend? You're almost done with school.
It is. It's my last week, guys. I'm so ready for it. Not that I don't want to. I don't want to put anyone off from grad school. You do what you want to do. It is an experience, but it is a choice. So if you don't need to go back, definitely consider it for a minute. It's great though. I'm halfway done. I only have my dissertation left, which I'll turn in at the end of the summer. So we're like halfway there. I can see the light.
I did like your pre-warning that you're not trying to turn anyone off from grad school, but you definitely turned me off from grad school a little bit.
Just the constant fear in my face and distress. Yeah. It's a little alarming, but it's okay. We made it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you made it through. You're drinking your hot water. And we're gonna talk about some McLaren drama, some Spygate, which a lot of people might not know about because it was like 15 years ago at this point. So it'll be cool to just kind of touch on it a little bit, go over it since there's no race this weekend.
Right.
Yeah. Did you have any news, any topics you wanted to touch over first?
Yeah, so I can cover up some news and Alonso's beginning at McLaren before we get into it all. But some just quick news. There's a big restructure happening in the technical department at McLaren. They got rid effective immediately of James Key, the former now technical director. And this is obviously a big change that they're making really early into the season. So I just want to get your thoughts on if you think it's actually going to make a difference for this season, or if you think this is more of their plan to catch up next year.
I think more of next year. I think James Key's decisions and like his kind of philosophy is probably going to be felt for the rest of the season because that's how they prepared for it. Maybe by the end, some of the upgrades you see towards the end will probably be the new technical directors because there's 3 of them for some reason. I get what they're trying to do, but it does feel a little bit like they just told 3 guys to throw something at a wall and see what sticks. So feels a little desperate.
Yeah, I'm not sure how the rest of the season is going to play out for them. It's not that I want them to do bad. I hope that they can pick it up a little bit. It feels like a lot of karma right now at this point. But it's tough to see Oscar Piastri get so much flack from the drama that happened last year when it ultimately it wasn't his fault that Daniel was leaving. But now he's not even getting necessarily the opportunity to show what he can do. He did really well in Q3, made it into Q3 in the last race, but he can't. I mean, he just immediately drops. So hoping we can see a little bit more from him this year. Hopefully there's something going on, but we'll see.
I'm rooting for them to do bad. I'll go and say it. I'll say it. Yeah, I hope they do bad this year.
Just plain middleman again, but
not me.
And then one more note, AlphaTauri just announced like an hour ago that they're actually looking to change the team name just because AlphaTauri as a sponsor is only sold in very few countries, especially like of the ones that they race in. So it really doesn't make sense to have a sponsor who's so niche and specific to one region, especially when so many of the races are in Southern Europe or Australia and the States, and it's very difficult to get AlphaTauri clothing. But I have no idea who would be the new name of it. So curious to see what they do for that.
I have an idea. I mean,
Hmm.
hear me out. This might be crazy, but they could name it Red Bull in Italian. It'd be Toro
Wasn't that Toro
Rosso.
Rosso?
Yeah, I don't know if
Like,
they
didn't
want to
they do
try
that?
that. I don't know if they want to try that, but just an idea. Red Bull, hit
To,
me up. Hit me up
to
for my
be,
royalties.
to be fair, I'll never understand why they didn't keep that.
That's a great name.
It was perfect. It was genius. It was creative. It was spicy. It was
Yeah,
good. Like,
yeah, yeah. And
yeah,
you could even make it the Red Bull car and make it red.
make it red. Red
Perfect.
Bull. It's in
Hmm.
the name. But that's all I had for news. We could probably kick it off. I can just go over some of Alonso's beginning at McLaren.
Hmm.
Um, Alonso, as we all know, has been through a series of teams. Some he has returned to on numerous occasions. Cough Renault. But just to kick this off, so after winning the 2005 and 2006 World Championship with Renault, Alonso signed a 3-year contract with McLaren. And early into that season, he won in Malaysia and was actually leading in the championships. He had in total 4 race wins that year with 103 points going into the final race in Brazil. And at the same time, going into that final race, Kimi Räikkönen had 100 points and Lewis had 107. He only needed to win the race. He not only needed to win the race, but he also needed his teammate, Lewis Hamilton, to finish third or lower. However, Kimi ended up winning and he finished the race and I believe seventh. He had a total of 109 points, and so did Hamilton. He finished also with 109 points. But because Hamilton had more second place finishes than Alonso, Hamilton finished second in the championships and Alonso finished third, which is tough.
Yeah. Yes.
And I'll get into some of their beef, but Kimi Räikkönen, as then we can decipher, won the 2007 World Championship.
Yeah.
So good for Kimi. It was his one championship. Happy for him. He's now retired, but go on.
I was gonna add, I think he's racing NASCAR this weekend.
Oh, is he really?
I
Oh,
think so.
okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to he was great in the I think he did last year. He raced in one and then he was doing really well, but then I think someone clipped him and he was out. So,
Don't quote me. I think Jensen Button is too.
ooh, that's gonna be a good one to watch. I'll have to look into that.
It was Kimmy and someone else. I think Jensen Button. But
Probably
yeah.
Jensen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, I'll have to look into that. Thanks for following that up.
Hmm.
Okay, so Alonso versus Hamilton. Now, 2007, 15 years ago. Wild, right? Long time ago, a lot of issues. Most notably Spygate, which Juan is going to be talking about as we've mentioned. But throughout the season, in their 1 year as teammates, they were competing and fighting at each other near every single race. Pretty much after Malaysia, which was like one of the first few races of the season.
Yeah.
Hamilton had his first race win in Canada. Alonso had a braking issue in that race and he only managed seventh place. And then following that weekend, they race in Indiana, which also bring that racetrack back. But they went off head to head in that race, and Hamilton ended up holding Alonso off and taking first, where Alonso got second. There's a great photo, which we'll
Yeah.
come back around to in a bit. And then there was a notable incident in Hungary where Hamilton actively disobeyed team orders and disadvantaged Alonso. And then as a fight back to Hamilton, he delayed Hamilton in the pit lane during qualifying. So that prevented Hamilton from competing in his final qualifying lap. And even though Alonso secured pole, he ended up getting 5 places docked for that revenge. So the pettiness of these two guys throughout the season is great, but I think that bit is just so funny
Yeah.
to me because you don't get that as much anymore, I feel. But
No.
they
No.
were it was really tense.
Yeah.
It was also rumored that he tried blackmailing management to underfuel Hamilton's car that race. And he also threatened leaking details about Spygate. And after all of that blowout, which we're going to hear about soon, Alonso essentially no longer was on speaking terms with the team. And it got so bad that Alonso and McLaren severed ties at his to his 3-year contract after only being with them in one season. And Alonso then went back to Renault for a bit. So even to this day, there's still tension between the two. Most recently, last year, when Alonso made the comment saying that Max and his 2 world championships were worth more than Lewis's 7 championships, to which Lewis then responded only with a photo of him in first place and Alonso in second from the Indianapolis Grand Prix. And he's like kind of patting Alonso's shoulder below him
Yeah,
and just did
yeah.
a thumbs up as the caption.
Uh, It
Iconic.
it's wild because they are generally very friendly with each other now.
Mhm.
They seem to be friends,
Yeah.
but they do there is still tension there and you can tell
Mhm.
and like even like sometimes when people ask about the other one to one of
Yeah.
them, they don't like giving the other one the credit that
Mhm.
maybe that they deserve. And Lewis definitely better friends with Seb in terms of his previous rivals. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's, at the end of last season too, I think it was Alonso posted a photo with a Mercedes cap that was signed by
yeah.
Lewis Hamilton, thanking him for the cap. And it seems just it's their PR teams were working at it to
Yes. Yes.
settle that beef. But yeah, I'll let you get into Spygate. But
Hmm.
I love that bit of drama. I feel like especially newer fans necessarily don't know all the background of it. So
Yeah,
just
yeah.
wanted to highlight some of those old
So,
tensions.
quick question before we move on.
Hmm.
Is there any, do you see a potential for like that type of teammate
Hmm.
rivalry and cutthroatness to happen again? I know we had Nico and Lewis semi
Right.
recently, which was similar, but not
Hmm.
at, I mean, like Nico Rosberg wasn't blackmailing his team. Like
No.
Fernando Alonso went nuts when he was at McLaren.
Yeah.
But can you see any teammates just not getting along like that?
Right now on the grid, I don't think so. I mean, this might sound not like presumptuous, but the only other person I could see that would potentially do some form of like blackmailing, kind of conniving, is the American.
Uh
Not, and I don't
yeah.
think it'll happen, but just his family background alone, it's kind of
Yes.
like you probably know what you could do. So that's the only person I could really see it. Maybe I could see George and Lewis getting into it a little bit because I think George is ready to fight back a little bit more and like,
Yeah.
but that's kind of it. Those are the only ones I can maybe see.
Yeah, I think George has been a great company man and
Hmm.
he's, very PR trained, but I think we'll have a little bit of a George and Lewis spat because if the car is ready to win a championship in like the next year or two,
Yeah.
George probably also will be ready as a driver to compete for it as well. So I
Hmm.
think we could see a little friction.
Yeah. I mean, I love everyone getting along. It's super great, super
Yeah.
fun. But the drama of some of
Oh,
these
it's great.
teams, it's
Yeah.
so much fun. It's
But
so exciting.
we need drama at a team where it matters. Like no one cares if there's drama going on at AlphaTauri or
Or like
Alpine.
Williams.
Yeah, or Williams. Like, oh, like wow, look at all this drama going on. Fifth place, like all that for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
agree.
so like Megan said, one of the bigger, but not one of the biggest issue that went on at McLaren that year is Spygate. And to be fair, this has more to do with Fernando than it does with Lewis. Uh, and the 3 teams that were involved were Ferrari, McLaren, and Renault. I will not really be talking about Renault because it's not super relevant to the McLaren Ferrari aspect of things. But like at its core, what Spygate was a disgruntled employee at Ferrari felt like kind of passed over for a promotion. So he stole 800 pages of technical information and just gave it to his friend who worked at McLaren. He and this is contested, but generally thought to be the truth. He the friend wanted another copy of it, and his wife took it to a local copy shop and like a copy place, like a FedEx sort of deal here in America. And the guy working the front counter was a Ferrari fan, smelled it out, and contacted Ferrari about it.
Oh, I didn't know that bit about it.
Yeah. So his wife took the technical information to get copies made of it at a public place, and the employee working was a Ferrari fan, knew what he was looking at, and
Mhm.
contacted Ferrari. And that's how this all kicked off.
Oh, that employee is probably sweating when that first came
Yes.
out.
Yes. So two of the more high profile people involved were Max Mosley and Ron Dennis. Ron Dennis was in charge of McLaren. Max Mosley was in charge of the FIA at the time. So I believe McLaren, they didn't end up paying this much, but the fine that they got issued for Spygate was $100 million, which to this day is the largest sporting fine of all time.
Oh, wow.
And the drivers were allowed to compete in the drivers championship, but their points did not count towards the constructors championship, and McLaren was not able to compete in the 2007 constructors championship, which, if there's any other teams out there who want to bend the rules a little bit and aren't worried about the consequences, this maybe this could have been something that happened to them. And that's all I have to say on that. I don't know if you have anything to add.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like last year, I feel like Red Bull could have had, I don't know, a different punishment for
Mm-hmm.
bending the rules.
Mm-hmm.
And then now with Haas, and I don't know what's going on with that. I mean, they're at the back anyway, so it doesn't matter as much, but
Yeah.
championship's a big deal. So,
So the two drivers at McLaren at the time, like you said, were Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton. Fernando Alonso, fresh off his two World Driver Championships at Renault, and Lewis Hamilton, not the Lewis Hamilton of today. This is rookie Lewis Hamilton, first year in Formula One. Part of the kind of intensity of their rivalry, and I Alonso did not react in the right way, but I do get his frustration. He's coming as a two-time world champion to a good team, and he, competing with a rookie driver. He was pretty much thought to be, he was going to be the number one driver at this team. And, he probably did not guess that this rookie driver was one of the two best drivers of all time. And he got some competition right off the bat, which caught him off guard. So McLaren could not just outright support him as the number one driver, and this led to some tension. The Michael Schumacher Ferrari of the previous couple years was one of the best cars ever made. So this is the car that all the technical information was copied from.
oh, okay.
And the employee was Nigel Stepney, and he had been the chief mechanic at Ferrari when they kind of ruled Formula One for a few years. When he didn't get like a promotion that he thought like matched what he should get, he stole the blueprints for the 2007 Ferrari car. And like I said, the plan unraveled when his wife took it to get photocopies done. So Ferrari they were already suspicious of this guy. They had put him on leave because by the time the photocopy incident happened, they had caught Stepney trying to sabotage one of the cars in the garage.
Oh.
So this guy was already suspended by Ferrari, and I think this, when they got the email from the photocopy employee, that kind of, which is insane to me. I can't believe that this is how.
That's.
But yeah, so the authorities got involved, both Italian and UK courts and the FIA, and actually initially the McLaren was cleared of any wrongdoing, and Ferrari was very, very, very upset about it. Initial findings were that the friend of Mosley, who received the
Mhm.
information at McLaren, it was found out that he acted alone, and the team had no knowledge about it.
Okay.
The second hearing, which was when McLaren was kind of retried for this, is where Alonso and the drivers come in. Um, like I said, Alonso had gone to McLaren expecting to be the number one driver, ran into Lewis Hamilton at the start of his career, did not
Mhm.
quite happen that way. And Alonso lost his mind. Like Megan outlined all the like blackmailing and things like that. Like she said, like Megan said, Alonso and McLaren were not on speaking terms. Um, and so this what happened, this was a little unclear to me, but what ended up happening after like kind of the qualifying situation was McLaren approached Alonso and we're thinking about terminating him like on the spot, like just
Mhm.
on the spot, just terminating him, and especially after trying to get them to fuel Lewis's car less.
Mhm.
Uh, and Alonso threatened to send all his emails
Oh. Mhm.
to the FIA regarding what he might know about the technical information that was stolen from Ferrari.
Mhm.
When Alonso threatened this, I think McLaren brass kind of talked themselves down from eliminating him because they did not want this to blow up.
Mhm.
So they decided to not cut Fernando, but the emails got sent anyways.
Oh no.
Um, so there was some miscommunication. This is what not I don't fully understand the timeline of threatening
Mhm.
to cut Alonso, Alonso threatening with the emails, and then Alonso sending the emails, and then Alonso and the team being okay with each other. So I don't
Mhm.
fully understand, but
Yeah.
that's what happened. There were some emails that Fernando Alonso had.
Mhm.
He's they got sent in, I presume by him,
Mhm.
and this is when the FIA got involved a second time. So eventually, Alonso apologized to the team
Mhm.
and withdrew like his like remarks about like threatening, knowing what's going on, this and that, knowing that they were cheating, but it was too late. I don't, like I said, a little fuzzy on the timeline there, but
Mhm.
Fernando Alonso, our favorite F1 driver, threatened to blackmail his team, then forgave the team and said that he would not blackmail them, and then somehow did anyways.
That bit is so interesting to me because I see so many sides to it where it was like, oh, he didn't send it, someone else told Mosley, but then it's also like, no, but he did send them. Like they got them somehow. You know what I mean? Only so many people had those emails. So
And if they
that,
are Fernando Alonso's emails,
yeah.
I feel like we're talking about Hillary Clinton right now.
Yeah, right. Seriously. Oh, yeah, that's crazy. I also think it's insane that even after all of that, Renault still took Alonso back. Like, to me, it's
I
just he's a liability
I
for a
I
lot of
mean
it.
I mean even think about this. Fernando Alonso raced at Ferrari after this.
Oh, right. Yeah. After Renault, he went to Ferrari.
I don't understand how they took him.
No.
I would not touch him with a 10-foot pole if he was at the center of what this talked about or of what was going on here.
Yeah.
I don't understand Fernando Alonso's career.
Mm-mm.
I know different executives work at different teams at different times, but
Yeah.
just at a principle, I feel like I don't understand both how
Hmm.
Ferrari took him at one, Renault took him back after this,
Yeah.
Ferrari took him after this, and then McLaren took him again after this. What?
Like, why? What do you mean?
And like I
I mean, I know
understand.
he's a fine driver. I know he's not a
Yeah,
bad driver, but like,
yeah.
my God.
Is he worth that headache? You know?
He sounds like a night, like genuinely like the worst driver to work with. And I don't know him, so I can't say for sure. but just all of his history and the way that that man has gotten around the paddock, I don't understand how people do it. Like how these teams keep taking that risk. It's a lot.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
it is
don't.
good then he's at Aston Martin because Aston Martin also has strong-headed people on their team. So
That's a good point. But I hope that some of the employees that came over from Red Bull didn't take too much from that car. Or Fernando Alonso will let someone know.
yeah, it's a risky business.
Actually, no, he probably doesn't feel threatened by Stroll at all, so he'll probably let it
Mm.
slide. So all this ended up with Stepney being found guilty by an Italian court of sabotage, industrial espionage, sporting fraud, and attempted serious injury, I believe, from when he tried to mess up the car.
Oh
And he
my
was
God.
he was given a prison sentence of 1 year and 8 months, but he did not end up serving time behind bars, as many of these things go. And he was declared a persona non grata by the FIA, which is essentially just blacklisting him from working in Formula One.
Wow.
Which his time in Formula One was over, but he continued to work in motorsport after this.
Really?
Yeah,
When
yeah. I'd have to look up exactly what team he worked for, but he kept working in motorsports after this. And then in May 2014, he was killed in a road traffic accident at M20 motorway in Kent.
oh my God.
Yeah. So
Well, that's sad.
mhm. McLaren McLaren kind of complained that the fine that they had to pay was just like
Mhm.
absurdly harsh for
Right.
what they did. And there's a rumor that there's a rumor that Mosley, the FIA director, told Ron Dennis that 5 million of the fine was for what they did, and the other 95 million was for being like a piece of shit. So yeah,
That's great.
I did want to touch on kind of like the impact that
Mhm.
this had. So at the time, there was no Mercedes F1 team.
Right.
They were the engine supplier for
Mhm.
the McLaren team. And as the 40% shareholder of the Mercedes team or of the McLaren team, Mercedes had to pay 40% of the fine. And this
Oh,
really damaged relationships between Mercedes and McLaren.
yeah.
And eventually Braun took on a Mercedes engine, and
Mhm.
Mercedes started to focus more on their relationship with the Braun F1 team.
Right.
And the McLaren relationship had proven to be so expensive for them that they started to kind of get the idea that they could do it on their own.
Damn.
So eventually, Mercedes decided to go on and just make their own team, taking over the Braun
Mhm.
F1 team, stopped supplying engines to McLaren, took Lewis Hamilton away from them, and the rest is history. So I thought that was kind of an interesting tidbit on how Spygate kind
Yeah.
of affected the next 10 years of F1.
Wow, that's actually really cool. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that McLaren was the sponsor for
Yeah.
McLaren at the time. And that also
Hmm.
makes sense how Lewis kind of got intertwined with all of that. Oh, I love
Yep.
it. Oh, I
Yeah.
love the drama.
That's some drama. So yeah, the rest was history. Mercedes just they decided that it wasn't worth what they were
Mhm.
paying. They could do it on their own, and they had a driver in mind to do it with. So yeah, um,
Uh,
McLaren back with Mercedes as an engine sponsor, but there was some years there where I think they were with Honda for a while, and it did
mhm.
not. I don't think it went very well.
Yeah.
Honda mostly out of F1 at this point, I think,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So
Yeah. Other than kind of, I guess, with Red
Red
Bull, kind
Bull
of not.
a little.
To what capacity? I don't know
Yeah,
anymore, but
the Honda Ford Red Bull Oracle racing team.
yeah.
But yeah, so that was Spygate. A lot of little pieces to keep track of, so pardon my pauses. I don't know why I just said that. You guys won't hear pauses because I'll edit them out. I need some coffee.
Yeah, I need to go to bed.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. Oh my god. What time is it?
It's only 3:30.
Megan. Yeah, so that was Spike. We just had our Zoom meeting just cut out mid-sentence. I honestly don't know where I left off talking. So if this doesn't make sense, just close your ears for a little bit. Yeah. Megan, do you have any race predictions for Australia?
Oh man, Australia. Well, first of all, I'm so excited we get Danny Rick back. I'm so pumped about it.
Yeah, I'm happy to see you.
Um, oh, can't wait. But let's see. Max win. I'm gonna say it's going to be a Red Bull 1, Aston Martin 2, Mercedes 3. So we can
Oh,
assume
okay.
that Alonso is gonna be on that podium.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think it could be either Mercedes. So see who it is. And then let's see. I think another McLaren DNF. I think we get a Williams DNF. And I
Okay.
think we get a Haas DNF.
Okay. Yeah. Those are good predictions.
How about you?
Um, I think we are gonna get is Australia. Yeah.
Hmm.
I think we are going to get our first legitimate Max and Checo like fight.
Ooh, yeah, I think so.
So I think Red Bull won too, but I think it's gonna be I think they're gonna brace each other. If
Yeah.
if if Christian lets them.
Hmm.
If
Fair.
Christian lets them. I think Fernando Alonso will come in third though. um
I can't see Red Bull the feud between Max and Checo getting as bad as the Hamilton Alonso one, but I
no.
do think they're going to get more. I think it could be more like the Nico Lewis kind of beef.
Yeah. Um,
Or
yes,
yeah.
but I think their dynamics a little different because the nice one is not the fast one. Where with Nico Lewis, the nice one was the fast one.
Yeah, fair.
No, but I do think I mean like if they're 1-2 with 10 laps left and they're close together and Checo's told he can't race Max, I mean they're essentially tied in the World Driver
Yeah.
Championship right now. Like why are they
Yeah.
picking a number one, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, but I do think we'll get a fight as long as Checo gets out on the goddamn first lap. I
Dude.
he for some reason when the race he's not a good race starter.
Race. Yeah.
He's bad at it. But for some reason he lets everyone go and then
Mhm.
just spends the whole race getting back to second.
Every race. I'm not even kidding. That was half of last season.
Yes. I would like him to just he's in a rocket ship. I would like him to just go when the lights turn off. So,
Yeah, I agree.
I think we will have both Mercedes in the top 5 as well.
Okay. Yeah,
So,
fair.
Mercedes 4-5, Alonso 3, Red Bull 1-2. So, that's
Any
my
other
guess.
wild, anyone from the bottom you think is gonna do well?
Um I think Hulkenberg and Magnussen score points.
Okay, that's fair.
And I think Yuki scores points.
I hope so. I love
Yeah.
Yuki.
And I think Carlos beats Charles.
I, I could see it. I could see it. The way things play out there, I could see it.
Yeah, I mean, Carlos been pretty consistent. No reason to think that he can't beat
Hmm.
a 8th place in the World Driver Championship, kind of run of the mill driver.
Yeah.
6
You know,
points.
you know what I've noticed on Twitter, F1
What?
Twitter, which by the way, I do not like participating in. So if you don't see our active Twitter, it's because I don't like it.
Yeah, it
But
sucks.
people are so mean. But yeah, a lot of people shit on, it's part of my language, but they crap on Carlos and make him look like a bad driver because they are Charles fans. And first of all, you can like both drivers, or you can like one and just not be a jerk about the other one.
Yeah.
But Carlos is one of the most consistent drivers, and he's just, I don't know if it's just lucky with some of these team orders sometimes, and they think they're helping
Yeah.
out Charles, and they end up screwing him over. But he's not doing anything wrong. He's a
No,
fine
he's
driver.
not. Yeah, I mean, Charles is another level compared to
Hmm.
Carlos, like compared to Carlos, like Charles is better, but
Yeah.
Carlos has beaten him head to head before.
Yeah.
Like he's not bad.
No. He's definitely one of the top couple of drivers, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
I
No,
put him in
that's
like my top 8. So
yeah. I
top,
think Carlos is in my top six.
yeah, top 6, top 8. Yeah.
Mhm.
That whole range. I would
I
put him.
guess we have to consider Alonso now.
I guess, yeah.
Alonso's probably a top five driver after this year.
Which is insane to me. But it's also like, okay, here are my thoughts.
Okay.
Real quick before we go, guys. I know we said we are gonna go and we're not, but um, I have such a hot take on like how long do you keep a fine driver in F1 before you start giving some of these seats to younger drivers who have yet to run yet to race in F1? Because we've lost so many solid drivers to things like IndyCar,
Yeah.
MotoGP, whatever, that or even extra like Formula E, because some of these drivers just won't go. Where are we drawing the line? Like there's no, usually some of these drivers would retire in their 30s, but now that drivers can perform at higher levels at an older age than before, and there's so much more safety around F1 than there was
Yeah.
before, I feel like it's going to be harder now for some of these younger drivers to get in. It's making it even more difficult to break through because there's not enough,
Yeah.
flow. I don't
Uh,
know.
Fernando Alonso, obviously a great driver,
Mm-hmm.
and he's having a bit of a career renaissance right now. Aston Martin looks great. The car's fast. They're competing for podiums. They're gonna be competing for wins,
Mm-hmm.
but he just essentially took up a spot in 13th place
Yeah.
for like 12 years.
Yeah.
And like, at what point is like, all right,
Like put that you have
anyone.
talent, keep racing, race somewhere else. Like let
Yes.
someone else in. Like Callum Yacht and oh, there's another driver that just went to IndyCar. Callum went, I think, the year prior, but there was another driver, Marcus Armstrong, maybe something like that. There's like another
Yeah.
F2 driver that should be near F1, or even Jake Dennis could be, he's a reserve driver, but I mean,
Felipe
there's other
Drugovich.
drivers. Yeah, Felipe. Oh my God, put him in a seat. He should be in that Aston Martin seat with Stroll showing him up, not
Yeah.
not Grandpa trailing blazing through. Like it's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Those are just my
Uh,
opinions, but
yeah, no, no, no. I agree. I just opened Instagram when I was waiting for our second meeting
mhm.
to load up, and I saw a reel of Fernando Alonso getting in a Ferrari, Ferrari with like a 20-year-old woman. So
Oh God.
he is just
Just
good old Fernando. But yeah, that was our Spygate episode. Just went over that. We
mhm.
got our race predictions in. Megan, any last words?
No, I'm just welcome back, Danny Rick.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. That's
Yeah,
all.
me too.
That's it.
Danny Rick, he restocked his
Um,
FEA
yeah, I got it.
merch. Already sold out in my
Yeah,
size.
I got it. Only the t-shirt. That was the only thing, but that was the only thing in stock. It also they were sold out. It was like a medium or something, so that was the only thing left. So I just like it. Thank you. Order, add to cart.
I'm upset. I'm gonna end the episode. Follow us on socials at BreakCheckF1.